Africa's Great Rift Valley, stretching thousands of miles from Ethiopia to Malawi. This is a massive geological fault line that acted like a biological laboratory. The environment here was in constant flux, testing early hominids. If our ancestors couldn't adapt to the shifting savannas and lakes, they didn't survive. In 1997, heavy rains in Ethiopia washed away layers of sediment, revealing a skull named Idaltu. Dating back 160,000 years, this fossil has the exact same facial structure and brain case as a person living today. It proved that anatomically modern humans were walking the African continent far earlier than previously thought. Geneticists have traced the DNA found inside human cells back through the maternal line. What they found points straight to a small group living in this exact region around the same time as Idaltu. Every living person on Earth shares a common direct maternal ancestor from this population, Mitochondrial Eve. Because the Rift Valley was an environment of intense UV radiation, our ancestors adapted by developing high levels of melanin to protect their skin from the sun. This biological reality means that when small bands of early humans began migrating out of Africa around 80,000 years ago, they were black, and as they moved, they carried with them the foundational seeds of human culture. Our shared anatomy and genetic code are the direct result of the intense, specific environmental pressures of the African continent. This land actively forged the human species. That cultural development becomes incredibly clear at the southern tip of the continent, inside a sea-facing cliff known as Blombos Cave. This site holds evidence of human habitation stretching back 140,000 years. Historians long believed the first artistic expressions were cave paintings found in places like France, dating to about 35,000 years ago. But recent discoveries in southern Africa shatter that timeline, pushing the record of artistic production back to 77,000 and perhaps even 100,000 years ago. A small piece of ochre found at Blombos Cave reveals exactly what they were doing. It features a deliberate, hashed etching along one edge. Ground down and mixed with water, this block could have been used as a pigment stamp. Creating symbolic art requires a group to look past immediate survival and communicate ideas about identity. Early Africans possessed advanced cognitive behavior and social awareness long before humans reached Europe or Asia. Over 10,000 years ago, the Sahara was a lush green savanna, packed with lakes, rivers, and herding animals like hippos and giraffes. Human communities thrived here, raising massive herds of cattle. But by 4000 BC, a slow, severe shift in the climate dried up the lakes. The green plains turned to sand, making traditional pastoral life impossible. People were forced to move. Displaced populations migrated eastward until they hit the fertile banks of the Nile River. Regular floods created incredibly rich soil, offering a narrow band of reliable agriculture surrounded by harsh desert. Because farming the Nile was so productive, populations rapidly expanded. Not everyone needed to work the fields anymore. The resulting food surplus allowed society to divide. Some grew crops, while others specialized as full-time artisans, builders, and administrators. The rise of complex society in the Nile Valley was a direct, brilliant adaptation to severe climate change. Pushed out of the dying Sahara, these communities had to innovate to survive. As societies grew larger, they required organization. At Abydos, archaeologists uncovered the tomb of a ruler known as the Scorpion King. Inside, they found 150 small ivory tags covered in carved symbols. These tags date to the end of the 4th millennium BC, and they are the world's first writing. This evidence proves writing was invented in Africa, completely independent of and virtually simultaneous with the cuneiform systems in Mesopotamia. Drilled with small holes, these tags were likely attached to goods and supplies. The elite used them to establish property rights, track resources from different regions, and manage the logistics required to build early empires. But Nile Valley innovation went far beyond state bureaucracy. In graves dating back to 3600 BC, archaeologists found intricately carved combs featuring long, thick teeth, perfectly designed for natural African hair. These prestige items were placed prominently in the hair of the deceased. From property logs to personal grooming tools, early Egypt and Nubia were driven entirely by native African ideas and resources. Further south, deep in the forests of Central Africa, a significant transition in metalworking occurred. Around 1500 BC, communities heating clay to make ceramics discovered they could extract iron directly from the laterite soil. They developed this specialized smelting process independently. This era of technological growth coincided with incredible artistic achievements. By 900 BC, near modern-day Nigeria, artisans were producing the Nok terracottas. These sophisticated sculptures, with their heavy jewelry and intricate hairstyles, point to a highly organized society. Armed with new iron tools, these populations began moving. The Bantu migration spread agricultural practices and language across 2/3 of sub-Saharan Africa, laying the groundwork for dozens of future kingdoms. Back along the Nile, the kingdom of Kush, also known as Nubia, was growing powerful. By 750 BC, Egypt to the north was fragmented and weak. A Kushite king named Piye saw an opportunity to restore order. Devoted to the Egyptian god Amun, Piye framed his military campaign as a holy war to rescue the religion. He marched his army down the Nile, conquering all the way to the delta, and established himself as the founder of the 25th dynasty, the Black Pharaohs. For centuries, Egypt had looked down on Kush, exploiting it for gold and military recruits. Yet when the Egyptian state collapsed, it was the military strength and deep cultural conviction of the Kushites reuniting the empire. Fast forward to 31 BC. The Roman Empire has defeated Cleopatra, taken control of Egypt, and turned its sights southward to annex the kingdom of Kush. Rome was the dominant military force of the Mediterranean, annexing territories from Britain to the Middle East, but Kush was led by Queen Amanirenas. A fierce, one-eyed strategist, she didn't wait to be invaded. She led preemptive strikes that crippled Roman outposts. During one attack, her forces captured a bronze statue of the Roman Emperor Augustus Caesar. She brought the head back to her capital and buried it beneath the threshold of her temple, ensuring her people would step on the emperor's face every time they walked in. Her relentless tactics inflicted serious damage. After 5 years of fighting, she forced Caesar Augustus himself to sign a peace treaty that guaranteed Kushite independence for centuries. Ancient African kingdoms were highly organized superpowers, capable of meeting the Roman Empire in open conflict and dictating their own terms. The mastery of iron, the engineering of the Nile, the independent invention of writing, and the military strategy of leaders like Amanirenas created a vast blueprint. That same momentum flows directly into the thriving modern continent we see today. The ingenuity that built ancient cities continues to drive urban innovation and rapid technological growth across Africa. Before the borders of modern nations were drawn, Africa was the original crucible. It is the place where humanity first stood, solved the challenges of nature, and built the very foundations of human civilization.